You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all. The darkness inside you makes you feel so small.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You could be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. But I wonder what could happen. I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show. I wanna see you, just wanna see you. I wanna see you, I wanna see you be brave. Show me your smile. Everybody's been there, everybody's been scared. Now we can't remember what the fear and dust. So I saw you laugh down to the mighty. This world makes you crazy, and taking all the credit. Just call me, maybe there's a way out of that hatred you live. Call me, I'm gonna make you stay. We get the light, and call me, show me on how big your brain is. Say what you wanna say, and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. What you wanna say, and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Don't be afraid to let them show your true colors, your true colors are beautiful. And since your history of silence, I can't remember when I saw you laughing. Let your words be anything but empty. Just called you out and put you don't only there. And I see you say what you wanna say, and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. I see you to be afraid. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you. Just wanna see you. Oh, I wanna see you. Don't be afraid.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Seelig, the Artistic Director of the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. I sure hope you enjoyed that piece. We love it. Truly brave. And tonight, you are all truly brave, here at this fabulous virtual event for family equality. As a gay dad and, well, gay granddad, it's vital to me that we provide a place for all families to live in equality and peace and love. And that's what you're doing tonight. Thank you so much. Give generously. And now I turn it over to my friends Jeff Titterton and Sheldon Trimble.
Wow, what a beautiful performance. Thank you to Tim Seelig and the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. I get teary-eyed every time I hear them sing. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Jeff Titterton. I'm Chief Marketing Officer at Zendesk, the organization that is hosting tonight's event for family equality. And here beside me is my husband of many, many years, Sheldon Trimble.
Hi, everybody.
Sheldon and I have two great kids, both hulking teenagers now. And the four of us have all been involved with family equality for a very long time now. How long, Shel?
17 years now.
17 years. Wow. That is a long time indeed. And you know what? In that 17 years, a lot of positive things have changed for LGBTQ plus parents like ourselves, both legally, more protections in adoption, foster care, and so on, as well as culturally, a lot more acceptance and loving in the broader community of families like ours, which is wonderful. A driving force behind that change has been family equality. This organization has been working since 1979 to advance lived and legal equality for both LGBTQ plus headed families, as well as for LGBTQ plus people who wish to create their families. They do this through 3 tenets. First, they focus on building community with families like ours. Second, they focus on changing the hearts and minds of the broader community through education and connection. And third, they focus on driving policy change. This includes their Every Child Deserves a Family campaign, which seeks to end discrimination against LGBTQ plus people wishing to create their families through adoption and foster care. This is really important because it helps kids who need loving homes find those loving homes. Over the coming hour, you're going to meet some really interesting people, and you're going to learn a lot more about what family equality is doing to fight for families like ours. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors for this event. Your generosity is very much appreciated.
As a queer mom, the work of family equality is near and dear to my heart. Even though my wife is on our daughter's birth certificate, we still had to obtain a second parent adoption in order to protect our parental rights. Families like mine face challenges like this every day. Family equality works tirelessly to fight to eradicate this kind of discrimination. On behalf of Zendesk, thank you for all of the work that you do for LGBTQ plus parents and families, and for leading the nation in love and acceptance of families of all types.
So let's get to the show. First, we'd love to introduce Sabrina J. Lees. She's a very talented writer, actor, comedian. You've probably seen her on TV.
Check out her special on Netflix. It's really wonderful.
Over to you, Sabrina.
Hello, family equality. Thank you so much for having me live. JK, pre-recorded. JK, which one is it? You'll never know. I am a little caught off guard. I just found out that the San Francisco Choir was singing, and I was basically doing exactly what they're doing. So I don't know if they came before me or they're going to go after, but you're welcome, San Francisco Choir. I won't do the thing that you're doing. I love family equality. I don't love performing to emptiness. I can't wait till we can all be together, raising money for this great cause, and actually maybe touching. But I was excited to be a part of this evening's digital event because, I don't know, I grew up thinking it would be impossible to have a family when I realized I was gay. That was basically like, I guess I'll be gay and live in the woods with cats, even though I don't like them, and chop wood in the woods. But my wife and I met 12 years ago. And a few years ago, we were in Mexico together, and she got food poisoning, and I very chivalrously let her puke on her own and took a surf lesson. And my surf instructor had skin that looked like mine. He had hair that looked like mine, a gorgeous face like mine. So I spent, the whole surf lesson just laying on my surfboard, staring into his eyes, being like, how do I ask this man for a dollop of his jizz? And basically, push comes to shove. That makes it seem like I had him have sex with my wife. Later on, I did actually ask him, on our second surf lesson, I asked him in the water if he'd be open to helping us have a baby. And he agreed to. And I was ecstatic, and I ran to the shore, and I told my wife, Shauna, who had kind of filled in on my crazy plan, and she was like, "You're crazy, but you can go ahead and ask. He's super special." And we were so excited. I didn't know how to make a baby. I mean, like, I know, but I didn't know, like, you have to be ovulating. You have to... I didn't know, like, movies make it seem... I'm a Gold Star lesbian, so, like, I thought it would be, like, a Home Depot bucket full of sperm. I didn't even know... So the ovulation part was really the main thing to pay attention to. And we realized Shauna had just gotten her period, so it wasn't going to happen that visit. But we went home, we started calculating Shauna's ovulations, and then we went back to Mexico, just like on a jizness trip at customs, like, how do you spell jizness? And we, Shauna peed on that thing that smiles when you're ovulating, and we did it. He do-do-do-do'd into a cup, I did-do-do-do-'d into a syringe, put it inside of her, and bam, baby. I mean, it was pretty sweet, and having Wolfie, having our baby, is just the most profound and amazing part of our lives. And I wish that for every queer person that wants a family, and so it is so super mega important that the organization Family Equality exists and helps people realize that dream. Now, I mean, people, you want to see what Wolfie looks like, our baby? This is the thing. My wife carried, it's Ricky's sperm, but who does this baby look like? Who does this baby look like? Looks like Sabrina Jalisa. That's the thing. So people keep on coming up to me being like, that's so nuts, Shauna carried. It's his sperm, but like, the universe is so crazy, I'm like, honey, it's not the universe. I was the executive producer, okay? Head of casting. All stunts my own. Please open up your wallets and your hearts, but mostly your wallets, and give to Family Equality. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of tonight, and I hope to see you live and in person at the next fundraiser.
Good evening. I'm San Francisco Mayor London Breed. I want to thank you for your support for Family Equality. First, I want to recognize the co-chairs and the host committee for tonight's event, as well as the staff at Family Equality. Thank you for putting in the hard work to bring us all together and build support for Family Equality's incredible advocacy. And a special shout out to Zendesk for hosting the evening. I know you all want to be together, but virtual events are still the only way to gather safely right now. I want you to know the most important thing I'm working on is to get us through this pandemic and to get the vaccine to people as soon as we have the supply, so that we can gather together again in person safely. I know you have a great evening ahead of you tonight. What an honor that you will hear from Jim Obergefell, a hero in the LGBTQ rights movement and the lead plaintiff in that landmark Supreme Court case that made marriage equality the law of the land. There's comedy and, of course, one of my personal favorites, music from the San Francisco's own amazing gay men's chorus. And you're going to hear about the incredible work that Family Equality does for the LGBTQ families and all those who care about them. We all know that last year has been incredibly hard for all of us, and especially for our families. The pandemic has ripped our lives away from us, physically separated from our loved ones, forced businesses to close, and put people out of work, pushed students of all ages to have to learn online, and sickened and killed far too many people. We have all been impacted deeply by the pandemic, and I know this isn't a political event, but do not get me started about the last 4 years under Donald Trump. and the exhausting, endless assault on our values. And shamefully, LGBTQ Americans and their families were a constant target for that disgraced former president, whether it was in adoption, education, workplace rights, and even basic decency and equal treatment. But my friends, it's a new day in America. This evening is called Rising Up for a reason. We have a new president and vice president who are with us when it comes to LGBTQ rights and families. We have hard days and hard work ahead for sure, but we can finally, after almost a year, see the light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic. Our businesses will reopen. We will gather together in parks and concerts and festivals. We will reopen our classrooms and get our kids back in school. And we will never take for granted again all that we lost or almost lost with this pandemic. Folks, I have hope. And the work of family equality has never been more important. So enjoy the evening. Thank you for your support for family equality. We're all looking forward to better days ahead. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, my name is Amrit Kapai. I am a practicing attorney at Golston & McClintock. You may have also seen me on Bravo's hit TV show, Family Karma, and I'm here today to discuss the importance of family equality. So we have two incredibly distinguished speakers on our panel today. We have Denise Brogan-Cater, who joined Family Equality in August 2012 and currently serves as Chief Policy Officer. She epitomizes what it means to be a civil rights activist. With a law degree from the University of Michigan and an MBA from the University of Colorado, Denise has fought for LGBTQ rights for several decades. She is a true pioneer in our community and has worked tirelessly to ensure LGBTQ families are afforded equal rights. We are greatly indebted to her for her services and her efforts. We also have Jim Obergefell, who, as many of you know, was a plaintiff in the landmark Supreme Court case granting marriage equality in all 50 states. I mean, wow, that accomplishment truly speaks for itself. You know, for me personally, after coming out, I would oftentimes think to myself, this is fantastic, no more hiding or disguising who I am. You know, being able to openly express love in public seems so adequate. You know, it wasn't wholly equal to the life my heterosexual counterparts were able to enjoy, wife, you know, marriage, the kids. But in my mind, this was better than nothing. So I accepted the fact that, you know, maybe marriage wasn't an option for me. And then I read Love Wins and it gave me hope. Jim, you gave me hope. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for showing us that our community deserves to have it all and not just 50%. So without further delay, let's begin our discussion. So Denise, the first question is for you. How did family equality fare in 2020? Which was an unprecedented year with COVID, a struggling economy, political unrest, racial justice reckoning, and more.
Thanks, Amrit. It's great to be here with all of you. There's no question that 2020 was a tough year. It had some good things and it had some seriously challenging things. We started the year off in an action that is particularly poignant for me. We were able to pass the Child Parent Security Act in New York. This is a piece of legislation that I started working on clear back in 2012 when I started with Family Equality Council. That was a big deal to after 9 years of advocacy to get that bill passed at the very beginning of last year. And then of course, COVID hit. And as a result of that, we had to rethink everything. We had to think outside the box. How are we going to deliver the services that we want to deliver to our families? We really retooled. We created new strategies. We created new virtual realities. Family equality. We have sponsored Family Week for over 30 years. In 2020, we had to cancel it. We couldn't have Family Week, but we found a way to do it virtually with tremendous support and tremendous response back from our community. Our revenue fell 37% in 2020. That's a significant decline for any agency. As the economy dipped, so did people's ability to give. We have a resilient staff. We love this organization, and we all pulled together and we cut expenses to match. And we ended the year without a loss. We added significant virtual content for our families. And we defeated 5 license to discriminate bills in the various states. We continued to advocate for our families. States actually tried to say, if you're gay or lesbian, we can turn you away from our adoption and foster care agency if you want to form your family. And we advanced our signature Every Child Deserves a Family Act to over 230 co-sponsors in the House. We're very confident in our ability to move this legislation forward this year. And of course, we fought against the final year of the Trump administration and all of the things that it wrought. So we have a long way to go, but I'm really proud of how family equality actually pulled through this year. 2020 was a challenging year, and we came through it really well. I'm really, really very proud of this organization.
That's incredible to hear, Denise. I mean, it is an uphill battle just in general in normal circumstances, let alone with everything that we've experienced in 2020. So very happy to hear all of that. You know, for me with the BLM movement specifically, it was a rude awakening to see how quickly decades of progress were compromised. And it just, I mean, it forces us to think, you know, if the same could happen with marriage equality and family equality down the road, you know, it's always going to be an uphill battle for us, and we got to continue fighting. So, Jim, the next question is for you. So you've had an experience that very few people have had, fighting for our rights all the way to the highest court in the land, the US Supreme Court. Your name has essentially become shorthand for marriage equality, and that must be so exciting for you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you ended up in that fight, and what does it mean to you to be part of history?
Thanks, Amrit. I have to tell you, it's been a surreal experience to find myself in this situation, to have my name, my face be connected with a landmark Supreme Court case in our nation, you know, this great step forward for LGBTQ plus equality. And it wasn't something I ever dreamt of. It wasn't something I ever planned on. My late husband, John, and I, we were not activists, but it took being put in a situation where we had a choice to make. You know, John and I got married late in our relationship. We had been together more than 20 years when we finally decided to marry. Now, John was dying of ALS, and he was coming close to the end of his life. And we ended up having to charter a medical jet to fly to Maryland and get married. And I tell you, we did that purely because we wanted to say, I do, I thee wed. We wanted to end John's life as husband and husband. And now, shortly after we were married, we were introduced to a civil rights attorney in Cincinnati. He asked if we realized that when John died, his last official record as a person would be wrong, because Ohio would say he's unmarried and my name would not be listed as his surviving spouse. John's death certificate, this blank form that our attorney showed us, made it all real. And when he asked if we wanted to do something about it, John and I discussed it and said, yes, we do. Thinking back, looking back over time, it was the easiest decision possible because it was a decision made out of love, out of respect, and out of fighting for the most important person in my life. And I can't think of a better reason to make a decision. And you know, since the Supreme Court ruled on Obergefell v. Hodges, my life has been surreal. People stop me on the street, they stop me on airplanes, and they stop me to thank me, to hug me, to share stories, to share photos. And I love it. I can't think of a better reason to be recognized by someone on the street. Even knowing now that John would die 3 months to the day after we won our first hearing, I would still do it because that's part of what my marriage vows were to John, was to keep fighting for him no matter what.
That is so touching, Jim. And I think most of us remember where we were when the decision in your case came down, June 26, 2015. And at this point, we've enjoyed more than 5 years of nationwide marriage equality. Jim, what do you think the future holds for our marriages?
You know, Amrit, that's one of the things that people tell me all the time when they come up to me. They tell me where they were, what they were doing on decision day. And I love it. Do I think our right to marry is at risk? No, I don't. And the reason I don't think our right to marry itself is at risk is the Supreme Court typically does not want to take away rights that they have previously granted or affirmed. So I find it really tough to imagine the Supreme Court would take that right back. And also in the 5.5 years since marriage equality, there are hundreds and thousands of couples who have married across this nation. Can you imagine the disaster that would occur? What is at risk, and something we haven't even actually enjoyed since June 26, 2015, is true marriage equality. All I have to do is say Kim Davis, Masterpiece Bake Shop. Those are just two examples of the ways in which our marriages still aren't being treated equally like opposite sex marriages. So we have yet to truly enjoy full marriage equality. And that also comes down to our families, our children. Recently the state of Indiana appealed to the Supreme Court, asking them to allow the state of Indiana to not put both parents' names, same-sex parents, on children's birth certificates. Those things continue to happen. Our ability to truly lead full and equal marriages on par with everyone else, we haven't enjoyed that, and our opponents will continue chipping away at our ability to do that. So for me, that's the biggest issue that I see with marriage going forward.
Denise, this next one is for you. So Jim described some ways in which our marriages and our families just aren't truly equal at this point, even after the Supreme Court decision. With a new administration and Congress, what is family equality doing to address inequalities and make legal and lived equality a reality for our community?
First, we are very proud and very pleased that Jim has decided to affiliate himself with family equality. Many of us have as a core value in our lives the desire to have a family, to raise our own children, to impart our values into the next generation. And as gay and lesbian, transgender, bisexual, intersex people, we have often denied that to ourselves. Over the years, Family Equality has grown from being a support organization to share stories, to provide support for one another, to a place where we are an advocate for lived and legal equality across the spectrum of what it means to be a family. We have three basic mission-centric departments inside of Family Equality. We have our policy team, the team that I lead. We work at the federal and the state level to try to advance legislation that favors LGBTQ people and our ability to form families. The legal and the research and societal truth that LGBTQ people are just as good, just as effective parents as non-LGBTQ people. For example, we submitted 38 very specific recommendations to the Biden administration. They include recommendations on anti-discrimination language. They include recommendations on how to prohibit discrimination in the child welfare system, not only against LGBTQ parents who wish to form families, but against the youth in care, against families who are having their children taken from them. Right now, lesbians of color are 4 times more likely to have their children removed from them by the child welfare system than even lesbians who are white. So we have some systemic issues, and Family Equality is working to dismantle that and prohibit that discrimination. Our program team works to center the LGBTQ families and those who want to form them. Our goal there is to reach families and individuals regardless of their physical location, and ensuring that our digital presence, which became really important this past year with COVID, is visible and relevant to everyday topics. We do things like train providers through our Open Door program, where a provider to LGBTQ people can get trained and be culturally competent in that provision of services. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is prioritizing inside of our organization anti-racism and making sure that we as an organization take tangible steps to develop and implement a plan that changes and builds a race equity culture throughout the organization. Our communications team to lift up the voices of our families through storytelling, through reaching out into the community and ensuring that our voices, those of our families, are heard at the highest levels of policymakers throughout the country, whether it's inviting people to attend a committee hearing, to testify before a legislature or before Congress, or if it's just to provide them with access to services that they need in their local communities. rights. We must have full legal and lived equality. And family equality is going to do everything using every tool that we have and across every venue that is available to ensure that we achieve that.
So I know we've talked a lot. We've covered a lot of subjects on the panel today, and I think we should end this conversation on a positive note. So why don't we have each of you share something that gives you hope for the future, hope for our families and LGBTQ equality. And Denise, let's have you go first.
You know, I am full of hope. I am actually very excited because I really do think that we are on the cusp of regaining everything that we lost under the Trump administration. I guess for me, you know, I'm deep into my 60s and I came out, a long time ago. And it wasn't, back in those days, we really didn't have, we didn't have conversation about equal rights. And it's wonderful nowadays to know that advocacy, that being out has lifted us to a point where, it's still not safe everywhere. And we still have a ways to go. But when I look at the arc of where we've come from over the years of my advocacy and to where we are now, I am truly hopeful that it really does bend toward justice. And I really do believe that the wins that we've seen and the advocacy that we are pursuing will continue on, and we will actually achieve lived and legal equality within our lifetimes.
Thanks so much, Denise. And then Jim, what gives you hope?
I find so much hope in our younger generations because they just don't see differences the way older generations do. And I love that. I found myself in a position to do something because of the countless people who had come before me, people like Frank Kameny and Edie Windsor and Marsha P. Johnson, Harvey Milk, you name it. Everything they did helped create a world where John and I felt comfortable saying, yes, we're going to fight this. And I think of all of the progress we've made in my lifetime for LGBTQ plus equality and the amazing advocates and activists who have helped make that happen. I think the younger generation, they have so many people to look up to, so many heroes to think about. And when they're put in a position where they can make a decision to fight for what's right, for what they believe in, or to just walk away, I'm confident the younger generation, they're not going to walk away. They will fight, and they will continue to make this world a better place for every person in the LGBTQ plus community. And Amrit, I was going to ask, what gives you hope?
Gosh, certainly the two things that you both touched upon, but it's the visibility and the representation in public life. It gives me something to cling on to and strive towards. We need to be recognized and we need to be visible in all facets of society, in all different cultures and even religions. I think it provides support and hope for the next generation to be exactly who they are and to live the life exactly how they imagined it. There shouldn't have to be a coming out. One day that should we always strive towards. There's no coming out. Well, thank you both, Jim and Denise. I am truly, truly grateful and honored that I was able to have this conversation with you. Well, we thank you for your time and your effort and your dedication to our community.
Hi, I'm Senator Scott Wiener. I have the honor of representing San Francisco and northern San Mateo County in the California State Senate. I just want to say thank you to Family Equality for the work that you do to advocate for our community. We know that as much progress as we have made in the LGBTQ community, there's still so much work ahead. And in particular, so many of our families in this country continue to struggle. We still have enormous discrimination, often sanctioned by state law, against LGBTQ families around adoption, around so many aspects of just being a family in our community. And we know that we have had a very hostile federal administration, and that is thankfully changing. And I know that we're going to see a very different environment with the Biden-Harris administration.
and with a more favorable Congress. So there's a lot of work ahead. We're all going to do that work at the state level and the federal level. And again, thank you so much for your work and advocacy.
Hi everyone, I am Raphael Mandelman. I am a supervisor on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, and it is my great honor to represent many of the same neighborhoods, including the Castro, that Harvey Milk represented some 40 plus years ago. I want to thank Family Equality for all that you do for LGBTQ plus families across the United States. As I record this, this is the day after the inauguration of President Joe Biden, feels pretty great to say that, and Vice President, formerly San Francisco's own Kamala Harris. And what a wonderful set of partners they will be, I know, for our entire queer community, and especially for Family Equality as you pursue your Every Child Deserves a Family campaign. In San Francisco, as you would expect, we have been leaders in LGBTQ equality, and I've been proud to be able to play a part in some of those efforts over these last couple of years. We have made unprecedented new investments in housing for trans folks, unhoused trans folks. We have secured funding for a third LGBT senior housing building that we're working together with our mayor's office to get built as quickly as we can. And we've begun to gather data about the services that are being provided to LGBTQ people, families, individuals, seniors, kids, because we need to understand how those folks are receiving services. If we don't look at it, we won't know, we won't see the disparities. So we've been having hearings on that. We're going to continue to look and make sure that San Francisco is equitably serving all our communities, and in particular our LGBTQ plus communities. So I want to thank you again, Family Equality, for all the great work you do, and congratulations. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My name is Serena Johnson, and I am the Chief Program Officer here at Family Equality. You've just heard about the legal equality we're fighting for, and I'd like to share with you what's happening for lived equality. We work daily to provide existing families and those seeking to build families with programs, resources, and support to foster lived equality for all families. When Michelle and Jen were first considering forming a family, they didn't know where to turn. We helped guide them to fertility clinics and other options for their family building journey. Brad and Mark were looking for community support, so we brought them over to our virtual peer support spaces where we have community conversations featuring relevant topics on family formation, parenting, and fertility. And then there's Family Week, which will hopefully be in person this year. But for more than 25 years, Family Equality has hosted the largest annual gathering of LGBTQ plus families in the world, and this is held in Provincetown, Massachusetts. And a few things are more powerful for a child than looking around at hundreds of families that look just like theirs. Finally, one of the best ways to encourage lived equality for our families is to educate others about adopting their own inclusive practices. Have you ever walked into a clinic or a doctor's office and been told that they don't know how to help you or that they don't work with families like yours? LGBTQ plus individuals and families should be treated with dignity and the respect that they deserve, whether at the doctor's office, a fertility clinic, attorney's office, and more. This is exactly what our Open Door curriculum was designed to do. Open Door is a professional training program that works with employers to create inclusive policies and provides guidance on how to build a welcoming culture. It's an honor to work with you, and I look forward to supporting your journey, whether it's building a family, thriving as a family, or being a supportive ally. Thank you.
are you smiling? I know you can't really do that yet.
One of the reasons why I really like my family is because it's sort of like music. And then my family is the remix. I like being different.
I don't think we ever talked about getting married because it was never an option. It was just like, we're together and that's it. Eventually, it was like that wasn't enough. We were the favorite aunts.
But we wanted a family.
But we wanted a family. I never thought it was possible. And I didn't think that the world was gonna work with me.
The first agency that we met with said, we will not collude with you. Like we were doing something wrong.
9 years total and 6 years in the process, we were done. And we kind of looked at each other and said, we've been treated like criminals in this process. We've lost money. We've looked crazy with our baby room. And it sort of puts you in this state of emotional limbo where you're waiting to see what's gonna happen. You know, we've run into so many roadblocks, one barrier after another. And all we want to do is be parents. It doesn't have to come to that, and we don't have to be rid of children. We just need to talk to each other. And I put it out on the internet, and you know, this whole process started to happen all over again, almost without us. And my phone rings out of the blue. But it was this adoption coordinator I had spoken with in Iowa, and she was like, hi, we have a mom in Texas. She wants a same gender couple, very specific about it. At the time, it was unheard of.
There's like 15 missed calls from Nancy. Either somebody has died, or that means that we've got a referral, and that just freaks me out. And she said, well, we kind of did, and I kind of accepted.
She's a rule follower. I'm not. So she was very like well prepared for
Don't
the
be a
interview.
smart ass.
Yep. Behave yourself. Don't say anything you shouldn't say. And at one point, I cracked a dumb joke and she kicked me under the table. They said, okay, we'll call you back in a few days. 10 minutes later, they called us back and they said, they want you. They thought that there'd be a lot of laughter in our house and that he would have fun.
Yep.
What we found out then was that Texas requires all sorts of paperwork and stuff within the last 3 to 6 months that Minnesota doesn't require. And we thought we had time to get it all. Sure enough, she had gone into labor early.
We had to move mountains that day.
We did. While we weren't there for him being born, we were on a plane the next morning. Because the hospital for sure didn't like gay people, they put the baby in the room with her. They shamed her. They tried to convince her to keep the baby. And we enter into the scene. So the family's super happy to meet us. They want us involved. They want us in the room. They invite us in.
One woman said, get out.
And charged at us across the room. You get out, you're not family. You aren't this child's family. You don't have any place here, get out. They ran us out of the hospital. And it felt like we were stealing him. It felt like we were trying to make a break for it. But then you can't leave the state. You have to get paperwork signed in both states.
We had to tiptoe around and keep the shades drawn. And I mean, it just felt
It's true, it felt like at any moment somebody was gonna come and take him. When I went back there to finalize, I went by myself. And I wasn't gonna bring the baby back to the state of Texas and risk anything. You know, on a day when you should be celebrating, in this dreary Texas courthouse, we get in there and it's like the best moment of my life where a judge says, this kid is yours forever. And I was alone.
Yeah. Hi.
All of that was worth it because this kid is who we were waiting for. There's no doubt that he's our boy.
Yeah.
He made us a family. It's organizations like Family Equality that equip people with the resources they need to pursue the life we get to live. You may not understand my family, but that's not my problem. It's yours, because my family's not going anywhere.
Family, it means people that you love and that you would have a very hard time living without.
I can tell that we are gonna be friends.
Ooh, this is all about
I'm Lauren, and this is my brother Ryan. I believe that all kids should have families who love them.
I'm Doug Tomlinson. These kids, who I love very much, call me Daddy.
And I'm Chris Hall, and I'm Dad.
Today, we just are so grateful to sit here and talk to you about an organization we really care about, family equality. When we were about the same age as these kids, we were just discovering that we were gay and that we loved people who were the same gender as us. Back then, it was impossible to imagine that someday we would become able as a family to bring children into our lives and raise them and love them just like all other families. Those unbelievable dreams have come true for us, and we spent a lot of time thinking about what an amazing gift this has been, that we have been able to live the impossible dream, the dream that we never dared to believe we could have, which was to marry someone we love and to raise wonderful children of our own. We're lucky. We live in San Francisco, a very progressive city with a highly inclusive community that cares for and loves families like ours, just like all other families. We were able to have our children through surrogacy. We think it's important that we fight for all families to have the right to love and raise their children, and all children to have the right to find a family that loves them. And so that's why we are so dedicated and passionate about family equality, and grateful that you've joined us tonight.
Thanks, Doug. We want to ask you to consider giving to family equality tonight. Family equality supports families like us in so many ways. One way that family equality supports us is to support us directly by connecting us with families that are like ours. That happens physically when we get together annually at Provincetown, and it happens with a lot of the virtual programming that family equality provides to families like us. That's so important because so many kids don't get to see other families that look like theirs. Another way that family equality supports us is that it provides resources and assistance and help as families start to embark on this journey and they need to try to figure out surrogacy and foster or adoption. Families like ours need to be treated the same as all other families. There's so many attempts to marginalize families like ours and create barriers. So we're asking you tonight to support the organization. The first $25,000 that are raised tonight will be matched. And so for every dollar that you give, you actually are able to give $2. There's a couple ways to donate. One is to engage with the online auction. That closes tomorrow at 1 o'clock Pacific time. Another way that you can engage is to text FUTURE to 52886. And a third way is to click within the application that you're looking at now to donate. We ask that you donate aggressively tonight because in this time where there's been so many attempts to marginalize our family and make it harder for same-sex families to adopt and to foster children, it's so important the work that family equality does. Next up is a song from the Gay Men's Chorus.
If you hear this message, wherever you stand, I'm calling every woman, calling every man. We're the generation, we can't afford to wait. The future started yesterday, and we're already late. We've been looking for a song to sing, search for a melody, search for someone to lead. We've been looking for the world to change. If you feel the same, then go out and say if you're out there. Sing along with me if you're out there. I'm dying to believe that you're out there. Stand up and say it loud if you're out there. Tomorrow's starting now.
No more broken promises, no more call to war. Unless it's love and peace that we're really fighting for. We can destroy hunger, we can conquer hate. Put down the arms and raise your voice. We're joining hands today. Oh, I was looking for a song to sing, search for a leader, but the leader was me.
We were looking for the world to change.
We can be heroes, just go on and say if you're out there. Sing along with me if you're out there. I'm dying to believe that you're out there. Stand up and say it loud if you're out there. Tomorrow's starting now.
be the change that we wanna see.